James Gunn is writing a Superman movie. That's right, everybody. James Gunn is writing the next Superman movie.
Gunsy?
Yeah, James Gunn.
Okay. All right.
No, honestly, this is very exciting.
Yes.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
I know we usually read the story first, but just right out the gate, I love James Gunn. I'm very excited to see what he does. Apparently, when I don't think I put this in here, but when the whole Marvel James Gunn thing went down, and DC was like, "Hey, you want to come over here?" They actually asked him to make a Superman movie.
Oh shit!
And he was like, no, I'll do Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Because I think he just didn't want to.
No, he didn't want to step on anybody's toes yet.
And
which
like,
now
everything was still.
He can stomp on all over their
But
toes.
apparently, when they asked him that, he started getting ideas, and it's been just staying in his head for like 4 years. So
man,
dude, I can't wait. If anybody can nail Superman,
I think he can.
I mean, this could usher in a new age of Superman. Maggie, I'm so happy. But let's discuss. Let's read the rest of the story first.
Right.
So, via the Hollywood Reporter, the project will focus on the hero in his younger days and will star an actor other than Henry Cavill. Gunn and his DC Studios co-chair and CEO Peter Safran recently met with Cavill to share the news and to discuss ideas for potentially collaborating in the future on something else, perhaps a different role. At this stage, Gunn is merely writing the script, though he could potentially direct depending on where his services are needed at DC Studios, according to insiders. Via James Gunn on Twitter, this is what he actually posted about it. Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. So maybe getting a whole blowout, which would be fantastic.
DC Dome.
I mean, no.
Fandom.
No,
Bring back the Fandom.
I'd rather, honestly, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather get like a Marvel style like thing where like they explain like, here's phase 1 of the DCU.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't call it phases. I mean, although maybe they could.
Chapters.
That'd be exciting. But among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be delayed by Henry Cavill. I see her. She's ridiculous.
Lucy decided to get up on the table, everybody.
But we just had a meeting. We just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. Wait. Among those is the slate of Superman initial stages, Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. I don't think I said that. So then somebody asked him, please tell me this isn't an origin movie. And James Gunn retweeted it and said, no way. So it's not an origin movie.
Not an origin.
Young hero movie, but not an origin. So think The Batman.
The Batman.
Like year 2.
Yeah.
And then asked, could Ben Affleck direct? Gunn retweeted and said, we met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. Yes. So even though Ben may be out as Batman, which I'm assuming at this point. Yeah,
Good on him.
You know, why not? And if you've seen Argo, you know that dude can direct a movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's obviously done more than just Argo, but I mean, Argo kicks so much ass.
Didn't him and Matt Damon write?
They wrote Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. God, that movie's so good.
You know, I've never seen Good Will Hunting.
You should. It's so good. Like,
I mean,
everybody in it's so good.
I saw Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season. Via Henry
Good
Cavill.
joke.
Thank you.
A little bit late on the draw there.
Via Henry Cavill on Instagram. This is straight from him. I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with a new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape is past, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. Then Hollywood Reporter continues. Warner's has also been developing a Black Superman film written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and produced by J.J. Abrams. And Gunn's new movie is said to not have an impact on that project, with Coates still working on the script. Superman has long been a favorite of Gunn, who has been thinking about the new movie since his early days at DC 4 years ago. Over the weekend, Gunn marked the anniversary of the 1978 film by Richard Donner, sharing the poster and reminiscing about seeing it in theaters in Missouri as a child. Wrote the filmmaker, "I loved it, and it rivaled Star Wars for me, and the score blew my mind."
Awesome.
Yes. Now, we'll pause here and only talk. Let's not talk Cavill.
Okay.
We'll talk Cavill. Following.
Gotcha.
So as far as this part goes, honestly, so when the news first broke,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to decide if we can, because I feel like we got to talk about the Cavill stuff before we can really dissect this. Because if we start talking about it, it's just going to be confusing while we're not really talking about Cavill. So I'm going to call an audible, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this piece into this. So Henry Cavill may not be so great. On a recent episode of Des Moines Podcast, a not yet verified story was shared about Cavill on the Witcher series. So basically, there's this podcast. Somebody released a transcript of this podcast to start making the rounds. And I've not seen any actual outlets report on this. The Culture Crave that I follow didn't mention anything about it. Hollywood Reporter doesn't have anything out about it. We just saw it last night, like literally late at night. It was like 9 or 10. So I don't know if it's just a weekend thing, if there's no truth to it, or if it's, if it is true and like maybe they're just trying not to, because he had all that Warhammer stuff come out this week. So anyway, so we're just going to read this just so you all know where we are with Cavill. So this is the transcript from the podcast.
Okay.
I recently got this message and somebody was like, do you want to know what really went down? And I was like, sure. So let me just read it. It says, at the beginning of the show, this is talking about The Witcher. At the beginning of the show, Henry was good to work with. A lot of unusual demands that made people feel like he wasn't really a team player. But that's not unusual for a big star. Though in TV, it truly usually doesn't happen until the second season. But in seasons 2 and 3, something shifted and he became really impossible for women to work with, which is always a big problem. But even worse here because the showrunner is a woman. He would try to overrule her and try to get changes made last minute across the board without her knowledge, which, if you know anything about showrunning, is completely fucked. The showrunner has to sign off on every minuscule detail down to the buttons on a costume. Female writers and directors were suddenly completely ignored on set, unable to do their jobs. Every department head was complaining. He started making comments. It wasn't a sexual thing. He wasn't grabbing anyone or being lewd, but it was disrespectful and toxic all the same. He's deeply addicted to video games to the point where it was like working with another addict. He was distracted, he was late, he was obsessive. And a lot of people think that misogyny came from the gamer world. Video game bro language is not how you talk to coworkers. And he wouldn't stop. Someone on the show compared it to watching someone get brainwashed by QAnon. Like his whole personality shifted.
Whoa.
Eventually, his disrespect escalated. Again, they compared it to QAnon. They're not saying he's into that.
Oh, I know that. But I'm just
talking
it's
about
just
how
wild.
dark it is.
Yeah.
He would rewrite scenes without even alerting the other actors in the scenes until it was time to shoot. He decided that he didn't want any romantic scenes at all, no kissing, no shirtless scenes, etc. He wanted complete control of storylines, but really had no idea of the limitations of TV, structure, budget, etc. He formed a weird alliance with one writer, who was also a gamer, who eventually got fired after multiple HR complaints were made. And after the writer left, Henry did anything he could to hold up production and cause problems. Eventually, top brass at Netflix was tired of him costing them money with delays in HR investigations, and the showrunner was asked to construct a potential exit for him. Netflix reached out to him personally, and he was given one final warning and violated that warning with an email he sent the entire writing staff. Right after that meeting, that was it.
Dang.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
And I think that, in talking about recasting of Cavill, or just, starting a new Superman without Cavill.
Yeah.
Like, when we first heard the news, I was a bit mixed. Like, I wasn't mixed in that, I didn't know how I felt. I was mixed in, like, I had two very distinct feelings. One was super excitement over James Gunn getting a Superman movie, and, like, sadness because we're losing Cavill. Who was, at the time, to me, one of the best Supermans.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
I loved his portrayal of Superman. And I loved Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was a fantastic movie. So, that was kind of how we dealt with this for... I think it was Tuesday when this came out.
Yes.
And then this was last night. So, I mean, we're talking like a 4-day period where it's just been that.
Yeah.
And of course, Cavill had left The Witcher so that he could be Superman. Well, that's what the story was. And then, like, a couple of days after they said that Cavill wasn't going to be Superman, he had started getting a show about Warhammer.
Yeah.
With Amazon.
Yeah. They're trying to get the rights. Amazon is trying.
And so, like, so it was all what it was. So then to read that about Cavill, it's really, I haven't had enough time to really take it in, and I'm trying to keep it in an air of disbelief.
Yes.
Not because I don't believe the people talking.
No.
Honestly, I want to just go ahead and say Cavill sucks.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's where I want to be. But until it is true, I don't want to just jump to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm always on the side of you should believe the victim first.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
totally.
I agree with innocent until proven guilty. I agree with that, but at the same time, I would rather believe the victim over the person that fucked with them. There's a particular word I want to use. I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be hesitant.
Yeah. I gotcha.
But I wanted to get that out there as to why we're not like, oh my God, it just sucks. I'm going to miss Cavill.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I will miss that take on the character. Yeah. But if all of this is true, then no, fuck, I'm glad he got recast. Like, James Gunn made a great decision. Like, his decisions are even better. And honestly, there's a whole section in this about, like, the negative things that are coming out about what's going on at DC before them, and, like, all of the decisions Gunn is making a lot more sense as this stuff comes to light. Yeah. So we'll be diving into more of that after this little bit. But yeah, James Gunn doing a year 2 Superman movie. I'm very excited. There's a couple of stories that first come to mind that I could see possibly doing a part. But honestly, I think it'll just be an original story. Yeah. Like, I could see Superman Earth 1. I could see that being one. There's one called Superman. Well, I mean, there's For All Seasons, but that inspired Smallville, and I don't think
he's gonna touch that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it seems like he's a superhero in Metropolis. Yeah. I don't think we're gonna get the aw shucks like Smallville stuff. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, if he's a huge fan of the Richard Donner stuff, I think he'll probably just go for, making Superman a believable character, giving him, his own flaws that he has. And I think we're going to get some good action scenes. Now, I will say, I don't have it in here, but apparently the script they were working on for Man of Steel 2, the main antagonist was going to be Brainiac. So, I mean, if that's already kind of floating around, I could see that still kind of... Because I pray to God, okay, that we don't get Lex Luthor. Like, I love Superman. I love... Lex Luthor's a great villain. Yeah. He's a great antagonist. He can be in the movie. Like, he can be pulling strings and shit. That's fine. Yeah. Even if it's President Lex. Like, I think that would actually be... I think if we did a movie where Lex is president of the United States, Superman knows he's evil, but there's a whole section of the world, or of the United States, that support him, even though he makes horrible choices. Yeah. And, like, Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way, but now the American way means that, you sell yourself as NFTs. I think that, that could be a really compelling story, and like, how does Superman combat how does Superman stand for truth when nobody can agree on what the truth is? Ooh, this should be the tagline. Look at that. Look at me. Like, you know, that
Look
actually
at you.
sounds really fucking good, you know? But I want to see some good action scenes.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like to have someone with Superman's abilities and not use them.
Yeah.
And like, I know you got to have dramatic, you know, you have to find ways to like not depower him, but like, you know, you have to make it to where you can't just solve everything in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, I get that, but like, you know, one thing I liked about Man of Steel is that they made the villains Kryptonians so he could just let loose, you know?
Yeah.
And like, he didn't really know how to fight. And so like, they were kind of beating him up a lot too. Like, it wasn't like he just took them all out.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I guess what I'm trying to say is I want something that has the heart of Superman Returns, but a lot more action than Superman Returns.
Gotcha.
And not nearly as much Lex Luthor fucking an old woman. That's what I want. All right.
Oh my lord.
But yeah, and I think James Gunn can totally deliver on that. I mean,
me too.
And here's the thing, okay, everybody? Here's the thing. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1, fantastic, right? Hilarious. And I don't think the Superman movie is going to be like super hilarious. I think it'll have comedy elements for sure. I mean, look at him. But I mean, even Peacemaker was funny, but had like some strong drama in it, you know. But the best part for me about Guardians of the Galaxy was just the simple thing of him opening the tape and it being Volume 2. You know, like that is my favorite part of that entire movie. Maybe my favorite part in the entire MCU, honestly. I love that because it's just so poignant and everything that it means without saying anything, you know? And I just love that. I love that. So I can't wait to see what that is in Superman. You know, like that gets me very excited. And I think this could end up being like the Superman movie we've been waiting for. You know, I mean, because even Man of Steel, as much as I love Man of Steel, like even at the time, it was just different. It was supposed to be very different from your normal Superman movie. Yeah. And like, and I love it for what it is, but like, we still didn't get that optimistic Superman, you know? And like, Superman Returns had that optimistic Superman, but it also had a lot of just melodrama, you know? And like he was depressed and stuff. And I get it. I mean, like it worked for the story, but like, you know, Superman 1, we just watched for the Going Back to Smallville podcast. And like, he's a very optimistic person, you know? He doesn't just save people by saving people. He also gives hope to people. And I feel like that's the thing we've been lacking in Superman. And that is exactly what he is, you know? So anyway, I'm very excited to see what James Gunn does with this.